No intro since I don't want to waste your time, straight onto the video. The first lesson players should take is understanding the fundamentals regarding their hero. In other words, why are you specifically playing that hero over another one? What does your hero do that other heroes in the game don't do? Let's start off with some easy examples. With Brig, you're picking her because of her tankiness and ability to heal DPS from range. If you're picking Mercy, you're picking her because of her damage boost, which allow your DPS to get vital picks where they wouldn't have otherwise. Moving on to more difficult examples, why would you ever want to pick Sojourn over Soldier? Well, for two reasons. Sojourn can one-shot squishies from any range in the game, and Sojourn has more burst mobility than Soldier. What about the other way around? Why would you want to pick Soldier over Sojourn? Well, that's for consistency in damage. Soldier on average does more damage per second than Sojourn, and you know this if any of you have watched my Sojourn guides. Currently, after the balance changes in the last few months, Sojourn's DPS is 126 and Soldier's DPS is 162. Not to mention, Soldier has a self-heal, meaning he can stay on angles more consistently than Sojourn. If I were to draw a rough, simplified value over time graph, you'd see that Soldier's line looks a lot more stable than Sojourn's, who peaks when she has her one-shot and dips when she doesn't. The same relationship between Soldier and Sojourn can be seen with Sigma and Roadhog, where Roadhog has power spikes thanks to the one shot in his hook, but Sigma stays relatively consistent thanks to his shield and a more consistent primary fire. We can even bring this comparison to characters like Zenyatta and Kiriko, where Zenyatta has a more consistent value output compared to Kiriko. I believe that if my memory serves me right, Zenyatta's DPS is 120 and Kiriko's is around 72, just from body shots alone. Now Zen still does have small damage spikes thanks to his right clicks, but I would argue that due to Kiriko's much better mobility, her triple damage headshot kunais, and her protection Suzu, her peaks are noticeably higher. So in summary, be sure to know why you're picking a certain hero over another. The second piece of advice is on locus of control. A third of your games will be wins no matter what you do, and another third will be losses no matter what. The outcome of the last third of games is a direct result of your personal performance and will determine your SR. Don't get discouraged by games outside your control. Justin Jane Conroy. For those who don't know Jane, he used to be a pioneer in teaching and coaching Overwatch back in the day. He was so big that once he left the scene, I made an entire video on him and where he's at. Feel free to check that out on the top right, as I think it's one of my best structured and researched videos to date. So what on earth does this have to do with locus of control? Well, locus of control refers to how much control a person, so you watching this video, feel that they have in their own behaviour. You can either have an external locus of control or an internal locus of control. I'll let self-improvement YouTuber Hamza describe the two.
And finally, the third belief that you may have is what MJ DeMarco calls the luck scam. This is where the majority of people believe in luck instead of probability. It's that they have an external locus of control instead of an internal locus of control. And what that means is essentially they think that external circumstances will make up their success, but the successful people always think that everything is under their own control, not external circumstances. Are you sat here thinking like, oh yeah, well, you know, this video seems nice, but it's not going to work for me because of X. Remember, beliefs are things that we are certain are true, but actually might be false. And one of the highest level skills that you could start to implement in your life is to start to question your own beliefs.
Alright, so this is a practical step that you can take in this video right now. I'll link an online locus of control test down below in the description so you can see where you're at. Don't bullshit yourself, because otherwise the test will be useless, and this is supposed to assess your own beliefs to make yourself better, not anybody else. Essentially, one believes that they're in control of their destiny, the other doesn't. Obviously there's going to be some nuance to this when applied to Overwatch, referring back to the Jane quote. Not every game of yours is going to be in control, and in fact, that is impossible considering you have 4 other teammates whose actions you can't directly control. It's not like you're pulling out a basically homeless and controlling 5 monitors at once.
So I'm playing as every player on the team.
However, the mindset of approaching the game as if you were in control of every game will lead to improvement, because there will be times where the game will be under your control. Landing a key cooldown there, taking a flank at that point in time, hitting that critical shot there, those are the moments that define you as a player and that will make or break your rank. And whilst I'm at it, you might as well reframe your mindset about improvement as well. Play to improve and the wins will take care of themselves. CarQ. The third piece of advice is to actually use your ultimate. I'm sure everyone's been in the scenario where they've been waiting 3 to 4 minutes to actually use an ultimate. Eventually, they end up using it and get nothing with it. This is most evident with ultimates like Shatter, where time and time again I'll see Reinhardts wait forever for the perfect opportunity to get a massive multi-shatter, and they end up doing their best impression of Supertf by shattering shields.
You ugly cunt!
In this case, if you had just used your shatter to confirm a single kill, that's more than enough value and can single-handedly win you a teamfight. In other cases, something like the sunk cost fallacy occurs, where because you spent so much time saving up for an ultimate, you feel ought to keep it and to double down on it, even if it makes your average gameplay worse. An infamous case of this was a few years ago in the Overwatch League with the renowned AKM blade, where AKM spent 3 minutes and 45 seconds charging up a single Dragon Blade, only for it to end up getting no value. Now, despite swapping in the Overwatch League being more complex, if this was you in your average rank game, it's definitely worth it to swap off the hero that's causing a detriment to your own gameplay. Not to mention, you attain up to 30% of your ult charge for swapping, meaning you're not even at a large deficit for counterpicking. The fourth piece of advice is actually on the opposite end of the spectrum, over-ulting. I mentioned this in my last video describing the 10 stages of every Genji main, but in one of the stages, I mentioned how a common trope of Genji players is to ult in 5v3s or when the team are at a massive advantage. The reason most Genji players do this is to get that big dopamine spike of getting 3 kills with their Dragon Blade, even though the team fight was likely already won in a 5v3. They're just doing it to pad out their stats, get play of the game, and to get a clip for their epic Genji montage to make them think that they're so special, when in reality, everybody else is doing the same. The correct play is to save your blade for the next team fight, where you can confirm a kill or two, which would have won you the next fight. And this isn't just with Genji players specifically, but with the entire player base, especially on push maps. Imagine this scenario: you lose 3 team fights in a row on push, your teammates have 5 ults, and you feel that you need to win the next team fight, so what do? You over-ult, of course, and pop more ultimates than was actually necessary. Best case scenario, you pop 3 ultimates and win the team fight. Worst case scenario, you pop 5 ultimates and still end up losing the team fight out of frustration. Focus on how you use your ultimates rather than how many ultimates you have. The final piece of advice, and arguably the most important, is to watch your cooldown management. This kind of relates back to the first principle in this video, because your hero's purpose is dictated by the cooldowns that they have. For instance, you're going to be getting significantly less value on Mercy if you were just heal botting instead of min-maxing your damage boost. More subtle examples of this would be with Ana's Biotic Grenade. As Ana, you win team fights through landing big purples that your teammates can follow up on. So if you're playing Ana and just nading your main tank instead of fishing for big anti-nades, you're obviously going to be at a big deficit in terms of value. Here's another example. If you're playing Sombra and throwing your Translocator in Narnia acres away from the team fight, you're not going to be farming up that EMP or getting those picks as often as you'd like with your hack ability from Invis. But good cooldown management isn't just to do with the value you get from your cooldowns, but also the risk associated with it. If you're playing Reinhardt and fire striking on low HP, the risk of you dying is very high, but the reward you get for fire striking is quite low in most cases. Some cases which are more in the grey area, like a Genji dashing in to try and get a one shot and then dash out, are high risk, high reward plays and depend upon your mechanics and whether you have an escape or not. But just weighing up the risk against reward of the play that you're about to make can drastically rule out some big potential misplays that could cost you teamfights and, more importantly, could cost you games. As a general rule of thumb, if you are coming across a high risk, high reward play, I recommend going for it, so if it didn't work, you at least gain some learning experience that you then can adapt to your future games. Lastly, before I end off the video, I thought I'd put my credentials at the end, considering most people might have skipped past this at the beginning, and I know there's been an influx of new players into Overwatch 2. I've done over 100 plus VOD reviews across varying levels of play. I spent 750 hours making an 8-hour Overwatch hero guide using proven examples with a bunch of pro coaches, and most of all, I'm currently head coach for one of the best collegiate teams in the UK, being Warwick Angels. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if this video helped to raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.